Okay, so I've got these in separate layers. Let's try the side first, which is this one. So I'm just going to go Command A, select that, Command C, copy it, and go back to my original. Whoops, where's my original? Here it is. And just paste it right in there as a new layer. Anytime you do anything new, it comes in as a new layer. So I can't see anything, that's all fine. And let's take the side little profile that I have already made in my paths, and I'm going to make that into a selection. And now I'm actually going to go back to my layers and make this into a mask, which is this button, this one. And so instantly I've got a chunk of brushed metal on there. Now you see down in the lower corner I missed a little bit of it. Well, you notice that this is the mask and this is the picture that's behind there. There's a little chain link between those two. If I click on that, I can deselect that, and then the little boxes around the whichever active layer you're on. So I want to move this layer a little bit down, but see it's moving within that window. So that's kind of nice. Now I'm going to do the same for the top view. So I'll go back to my top view, which is, I'm going to use this one first. So I'll go Command A there, copy that, back over to my, I don't want that, this. Just paste it in here, it's a whole new layer. Now I'm going to select my top selection that I already made before. Actually I have two different tops, one's curved and one's straight. I think I want my curved one. Make a selection, not channels, go back to my layers and say make that into a mask. And I got the same problem, but that's fine, I'll just unlink that. Go over here, select that layer and scooch it over. And now you see all the blue behind it, but let me go back to my blue. Now that I know this is supposed to be copper, this is a non-destructive layer, so I can double click on that. And this is where I chose that color. So let's go with the kind of copper color. And I could actually, I think I could sample this. No, I can't. I'm going to. So I'm just kind of visually at this point kind of trying to match up that color. But that looks close to the top, but the side is a very kind of more warmer one, but I'll just stick with that. Double check if I want to go lighter, darker. Yeah, it looks good. And now I need to do the front, and this is where the design kind of intent comes in again. I probably should let's do this surface too. I'm not sure if this will work on that same piece, but I'm instead of using the pen tool, I'm just using the basic selection tool, just because I want to go quicker. But you should always use the pen tool, it gives a much cleaner selection. So now I want to put that other one in here, and I need to go to my layers. Actually, I need that. Or actually, what I want to do is it's at the same surface as the top, right? So I'm going to go into this top mask and delete that out of there. So this, you can see, obviously it doesn't look right because I lost all my shading. But let's not give up yet, because what we're going to do... Oh, that's weird. Oh, I see what I do. Oh, and I look in this... Yeah, it's just not quite big enough, so I'll increase the size of that whole plane, that whole picture. So I have some more material to work with. And also notice when I zoom way in there that the grain is just slightly, I don't know if you can see it, it's slightly the wrong angle. So this is a good time. I've got that layer selected. I'm going to just turn it till I get the good grain. And this works great with wood grain too. Okay, now notice on the top it looks like I got this nice crisp edge. Look what happened on the bottom. I had a feathered selection on my lasso tool. So I'm going to go back in and but again, this is a mask, and so working with non-destructive things are always helpful. So I'm going to go back into this mask, and maybe I'll paint this time. So if I paint black or white, it will change this mask. If I paint black in here, I'm blocking out parts of my mask. And maybe actually I want that edge fuzzy, so let's just leave that one. I'll go back in here. And this edge here could be cleaned up a little bit. And if I go too far, I'll just switch it to white, and I'll paint it back in. Whoa, see, I could go all over the place, but I don't want to do that. And this is not recommended, just hand paint it in. You should make a selection and then paint within that selection. In fact, I'm going to undo this because I don't like that little corner there. Now, the texture also is a little bit faint. I want it a little bit more obvious. I want those. So I think I'm going to try sharpening, maybe a filter, and see if I can sharpen the. Let's just try sharpen, period. See what happens. Yeah, didn't show up too much. You can actually do, you can make your own brush metal textures. And I don't know if I want to go into this, but I'll just do a quickie new one. Let's see if I can do this real quick. So you first get a gradient going, which is, I think, under the paint bucket tool also. And they've got some preset ones. Let's just try this. Go kind of at an angle here. Whoa. I want. So you get a basic gradient so that you have something to work with. Let's do multiply. We're going to come up from this side. And then you do a filter called wind, I think. Where is that? Stylize. Wind. And I don't know why. You know, you just play with these textures, and some of them do crazy stuff. And I don't see anything happening. What?
No, you should zoom out.
Yeah, I think. Come on. I'll just do a little section. Let's try this. Layers. Filter. Wind. Zoom out. What do you mean?
Just go back to the screen. Yeah, start on the top. Yeah. Then zoom out. Maybe you should.
Ah. Dude. Alright, so you can kind of see there's, you try this wind blast. I think blast actually looks pretty good. But why is it not doing it to my selection though? Because I am somewhere. Alright, skip that.
It's background.
I'm not sure if that's the only reason why, but let's try it. Yeah, it's weird. Did it? Oh, actually, you know what? I think it is doing it. It's just, it's so huge.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah, yeah. It just, my file is really huge. But you can kind of see, do you see the kind of like brushed metal-y texture there? Let's do this. Let's just scale this down. Image size. Yeah, so it's 72 inches wide. That's a huge field that I'm working with. So let's go down to 10 inches by 72 dpi. Even that's probably way bigger than I need. 6. And zoom back in to, here's 100%. Okay, now let's try that filter again. There we go. Now we can see, and I got some little artifacts from my previous thing, but anyway, you can do stuff if you colorize this with like wood color or metal color, whatever. This is now a little too big, but copy that and go back here and yeah, look how small that is. See, I told you I shouldn't even bother to do this. Actually, this will be a good thing to show you, though. Just imagine that that was good. Remember I was talking about the horribly awry? This is it. This is one of the really helpful filters. When you're in this mode and you've got something in perspective and you've got something selected, it's got to be square to begin with. But if you go up under Distort, transform, distort. So let me select this again. So it works really great with square images, but you why can't I find that now? I'm looking for transform. Here we go. Distort. So what this does is it gives you 4 corners that you can grab and just place in the corners where you want them to be. And in this case, I would do this slightly bigger than my surface because I'm going to trim it back. But it will actually do perspective too. So if your corners are way off here, it actually works in perspective. So I double click on that, and yeah, it's not perfect. I think the grain's a little too big, but you can you see the texture going on there? In the right direction. I think it's really cool. So, but I don't really want that. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so my last part I was going to do is this front edge, which is this photo here. I want to get this little metal edge on the front of the tape dispenser. I mean, a stapler. So I'm going to copy that one. Command copy, command yada yada, and then go over to my tape. And this one, I don't think I have a selection for this, so maybe I need to make one. Where's my paths? Yeah, I didn't make a selection for this, so I'm just going to do a really quick selection. But first I'm going to paste it in here. So there's my edge. Close that. Go over here. And I'm going to go over the edge. Actually, let's go way beyond just for a minute, and we'll see what we can do. I want that a little bit bigger. And then turn my layer on, go to that layer, and make that into a mask. And then unlock it, grab that, scoot this up to the edge. And I need to rotate it a little bit and shrink it down. So I'm going to squish it down because I want the scale to be a little bit smaller. Rotate it ever so slightly. And now I don't want the back end of this, so I'm going to get a big feathered selection tool. So I'm going to go like 20, let's say, and I'm just going to delete the back end of this. And that wasn't even enough. Let's go more than that. Let's go 50. So, yeah, we're getting there, but I still need to do a lot of cleanup work and everything. But one thing I was going to mention is that, like, for example, this surface here, I just plop those surfaces down in there, but I want them to have the texture, the shade, not the texture, the shading from below. Now this top surface, what I had before, which is, there it is without the shading. There's really not much going on, so this isn't going to show too much, but that bottom surface, the inside one, might show me a little bit more. So I'm going to take this whole layer, and instead of just normal blending, I'm going to try a couple different things, and this is something where you just have to try it. But so first I'm going to try cutting back the actual opacity first and see where that gets me. And then I'm going to go in and look at it and say, well, what if I just did multiply? What would that look like? Actually, it's not too bad. It's a little dark, but now I can see my shading through there, and I get a little bit of my texture from my material. Maybe I'm good. Let's just see what happens if I said screen. Nah, that's not right. How about color dodge? Nope. And literally just run down the whole list and you go, okay, overlay. That can sometimes work. But I think actually the multiply was looking good to me. So I'm gonna do a combination of multiply and kick back the opacity a little bit. So now, and I'll do that in the same on the side view. Kick back the opacity a little bit. And whoa, that one, let's not multiply that one. And same with this front one, which is here. I'm just going to go with opacity on that one. So I can see also that now that I've chosen to make this front really curved, I actually have to go in and kind of adapt my side view, which is here. Whoa. And I could do maybe that with the mask. Go in here and just paint out this corner. Like this way, like that. Maybe not. What's going on here? Oh, I got my huge feather, sorry. 0. That's see, this is where Photoshop gets really confusing. I'm in the wrong layer, so I need this layer, and I need to make that white, so I'm going to put that in the background and delete it. Not quite right, but I'm starting to get that corner on there. I even need to go back to my original model and clean that up too, because I've got that on this layer. There we go. Now it's starting to look like a curved front end there. So the last thing I'm going to do on this one, and then I'm going to stop for now, is to take the bottom surface, because this looks pretty funky, right? Let me zoom in there. You still see all those fingerprints and everything. And so I need to figure out where that is, because it's not always apparent. I think it must be this layer. Yeah. So I'm going to just do another quick selection, but this is what I did last time, is I'm actually selecting a little bit shy of the corners, and I'll come back in and clean up the corners separately. So I'm just trying to get a good flat plane. So this is a selection. I could turn all these other layers off, and it's a selection of my clay model. Whoops. Right here. So what I did last time is I copied that piece, copied it, pasted it, and now it's on its own new layer. And then if you lock the pixels, you can do some radical blur techniques to it without it blurring the edges, because the edges are locked. So for example, so you can see in the preview right now, that's not even enough. Let's go up to like 24. Now do you see the kind of result over here? It's getting smoother. Let's go up even further. 39. Yeah, there's getting there. So now I got some of the shading still in there, but I've got a pretty nice smooth surface. So let me do the same with one of these little edges. Because this is, let's see now. Let me turn on some things again. Oh, I did do the front, okay. Okay. So actually, in this case, instead of trying to blur or whatever, I've just got this selection on here. I'm going to go back to my base guy there. I'm going to try just blurring it with my water droplet tool. I don't know if this is going to work, but let's just try it. So, got that selected. Yeah, it's not really doing enough. Let's just try blurring it in place. That's a little too much. But not bad. So let me turn this. I'm going to move my color layer all the way up to the top too and see if that kind of colorizes a little differently. It does. I don't know if it's good or bad. It kind of lost its so, but with this on top, I can go back and say, okay, actually instead of brushed copper, let's make it more metallic-y looking. Turn up the lightness a little bit. I like to have a little bit of blue in the metal. And I actually like that better than the copper, so I'm going to go with this. But I did notice that it's kind of lacking. The lighter areas are a little bit lacking, so I might go into, let's take my top, wrong top, let's just delete this one altogether. Take my top, make a selection from that, and I'm just going to airbrush a highlight across the top to give it a little bit more volume or a little bit more range. So I'm going to do that with this other tool called the Lighten and Darken tools. And those are the little hand and the, it's from photography, but I'm going to use it, so I never can remember which is dodge and which is burn, so my little thing is that if somebody pinched you, it'd make your day darker, and if somebody gave you a lollipop, it would lighten up your day. So that's my little crappy technique, but hey, it works, that's the important part. And I'm going to find that layer. Let's go all the way down to this layer and get a bigger brush. Whoa. Yeah, that's a lot. Actually, that's not bad there. Let me do it. Where's that layer? I lost where I was. I was in this layer. So this was a little too heavy, so I'll just cut the exposure down so I can do it in a couple passes. But I want to kind of highlight across the top and maybe one across the back. Just a real small one. Okay. Pick up a little lighting there. And then maybe I should do something similar on this inside one. I think that might be really this layer. It's getting there. I probably actually don't want too much inside there because that's darker. So a lot of this is just back and forth and finessing it and then kind of looking at it and going, does this look right? Does this not look right? This is what I did before. Actually, I'm going to stop this because I already got this part, so let's stop our recording.